Hello, epic viewers from around the multiverse. Brace yourself for unprecedented epicness, because today I'm going to shed light on my dream and my ultimate goal out of life. In other words, I'm going to elucidate why I work hard each and every day in order to attain my goal. Now, I earnestly believe that I can attain my goal if I incessantly work hard. But is it a certainty? Of course not. The future is enigmatic. The future is uncertain. The future is obscure. The future is unforeseeable. The future is unknown, to say the least. Now, ultimately, I would love to be able to procure a giant basement in which I can display my action figures within. Unfortunately, at the moment, this will not be happening. Why? Well, I've been blindsided by the impending disruption of a move. And now I'm going to have to fund a storage unit in perpetuity until I can afford housing. So it's quite a shame and quite a pity what has transpired. And I'm on the cusp, I'm on the precipice of potentially losing everything. I've been in school my whole entire life. And after I earn my doctorate, I presume that I'd be able to stay where I'm at now for a minimum of 1 to 3 years. But unfortunately, to my dismay, that's not the case. I've been forced to move right after earning my doctorate, so I'll no longer be in this particular environment. I'll no longer be in this residence, and moving has caused me to incur exorbitant costs, and having to pay for a storage unit has caused me to incur outrageously expensive, unaffordable costs. So I earnestly pray to God that I can retain everything that I worked so hard to earn my whole entire life. The opportunity cost of earning a doctorate is enormous, is exorbitant. Debt is an onerous burden that is arduous to get out of. Debt is seemingly insurmountable. Why? The interest compounds each and every day into the principal. The interest accrues each and every day into the principal, and the stress it induces is just overwhelming. It shortens the telomeres and unravels the chromosomes, and you wind up losing sleep over it. So to pull myself out of the muck and mire, to attain subsistence, to be able to at least retain everything I own, or mostly everything I own, to be able to afford a low standard of living, I may have to get 2 hours of sleep for decades of my life. I want to learn how to code. I want to learn CSS, HTML, Python, JavaScript, but being able to learn, being able to sleep, being able to eat is a luxury at the moment. I'm anorexic, I'm emaciated, I'm gaunt. I only eat 2 days per week as a raw fruitarian. Maybe I'll have to cut back to eating 1 day per week. Who knows? I need more time to work, and I can't afford to just eat and sleep while I have tremendous expenses that are being ramped up in perpetuity. And of course, the costs of a storage unit are not only exorbitant, but they're ever increasing, to say the least. 1 month you may be charged 180, the next month may go up to 200, and then a few months after that it may be 220. So it's just unbearable, and the albatross of debt bogs you down. Being laden with debt at such a young age is dire, is detrimental, and of course employers are deterred from hiring you when they see that you're overqualified for the position you're applying for. And of course, if you want to attain a position that requires a doctorate as a prerequisite to be eligible to apply for the position, then competing against people with eons of experience. You also have a myriad of publications, so competing against the more qualified candidates is never easy, to say the least. But if I incessantly work hard, hopefully I can pull myself out of the muck and mire, at least attain subsistence, and hopefully one day be able to afford a giant basement in the middle of nowhere, so that I can display my action figures, and so that I could display the few resin statues that I have. Fortunately, I'm not going to have any display space where I'm going to be living, So my room's going to be like an office. It's going to be devoid of display space, and maybe I'll get to display my action figures in a couple of decades from now, but that's only if I'm able to retain them. If I can't meet those storage unit payments, if I'm short on the storage unit payment, if I'm late on the storage unit payment, then everything I own could be taken away from me. Everything that I worked hard for could be relinquished in a picosecond. So I hope that that's not the case. I hope that one day I could afford a giant basement, and if I have to live in the boondocks in order to afford a basement in the coming decades, then that would be a dream come true. I would just love to have some display space that's my own, but when you're indigent, when you're destitute, when you're impoverished, any amount of space you can get is a luxury. So I'm grateful just to be able to have a mattress, even if it's relegated to the floor. I'm grateful just to be able to have a chair to sit on, even if it's not comfortable, to say the least. So where I'm going is not going to be an environment conducive with housing an action figure collection, but hopefully one day I can attain my goals. I strive to attain my goals each and every day, and hopefully I'm making inroads in my journey to attain my goals. So I hope that you found this video to be insightful and enthralling. My ultimate dream is to be able to at least attain subsistence, and at least one day be able to afford a giant basement that I could display my collectibles in. I love my pre-owned, used, second-hand market action figures. I love my resin statues that I have so few of, and I just hope that one day I can flaunt my figurines, but if I can't, then it is what it is. I'll try my utmost best to bring my goals to fruition, and hopefully I can achieve what I set out to achieve. Being a full-time student has caused me to forgo decades of working a job that pays remuneration. So can I overcompensate for losing decades in the workforce? I do not know. That is an enigma, but perhaps the future is unknown. I hope that you found this video to be insightful and enthralling. I hope that you've been bedazzled. Have a wonderful, marvelous day. Goodbye.